Hey guys, so I'm here back again for the fourth time with this 2014 Toyota Tundra. My dad picked this baby up back in December for, I think it was a good deal, I know that. It had been in a wreck and they'd fixed it. It was sideswiped. Basically the door, we saw pictures, the door, both the doors and this fender had to be replaced. And I think I would imagine the running board would have had to have been too, and the side airbag. So I think it was totaled originally, but regardless, let's just jump right into this review here. Yeah, so looking around the vehicle, I actually really like the styling on it. It's just a very straightforward truck look, and that's honestly, when it comes to vehicles, I really value more practicality when it comes to just the all-around design of it. Even when it comes to the exterior looks, I do like it to look good, of course. I'm not tasteless in the design of what I prefer, but I think that Toyota really did a good job with this design, making it look tasteful enough, putting a couple of curves and edges in, but not going over the top. And I think that's really what's going to stand out in the long run, and that's kind of the design language that when you think about cars that are timeless in their design really tend to have. So yeah, just looking around here, it's just a very, very standard looking vehicle, nothing too special. It is the 4x4 SR5 model. There's no LEDs on any of these taillights or headlights. They're all halogens. But again, it goes back to what I just said about it being more practical than functional. You could actually probably argue that LEDs are more practical in the long run because they won't burn out, whereas halogens you'll have to replace. So maybe that goes against what I was saying. Maybe that's not quite true, but it's simple and it looks nice as a result, I think. The wheels, again, simple design, but they do look nice. The tires, they are Goodyear Wranglers. I don't know what the exact wheel size is. It might say it on the tire somewhere, but I'm not going to sacrifice my footage, as terrible as it already is, to try and find that. It has fog lights, although I don't know, and neither can my dad. We can't figure out how to turn on the fog lights on this truck. We just can't figure it out. I know if I sat down with the owner's manual one day, we might be able to figure it out, but we just cannot seem to figure out how to turn on the fog lights. It's not obvious. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hop in here. We're going to take a look at the inside. The first thing, before I hop in, I want to point out is these mirrors right here. They're very functional. Again, goes back to that whole functional design language that I think this truck really has a theme of. They have turn signals integrated into the mirrors, which I think is really useful, especially at night. Because it makes the vehicle more visible, especially from the side when you're pulling out. And then again, these mirrors, they fold out, and I think that's nice for parking, but then also they fold this way if, God forbid you were to back up and bump something with the mirror. It's not fixed in one place really, so it's movable. So worst thing that'll happen, well, hopefully the worst thing that'll happen is it moves one way and then you realize, oh hey, I'm hitting something with my mirror, I need to stop. So I think that's a really, really good design, and my Lexus actually also has that, which is, I think, really smart. And then it also has a blind spot mirror, which is, again, with this truck is very useful, because it is, not only does it have the 8-foot long bed, but it also has I think it's either called the extended cab or the double cab. But we're going to go ahead and hop in here. So here's a look of the inside. It's, again, goes back to what I said in the beginning. It's very functional, very practical, easy to use. Lots of storage in here. Very functional. The only downside storage wise would be the glove box. I think it's a little small for this type of vehicle. I think they could have put a lot bigger of a glove box in, considering how big it is, and considering that my Lexus, which is I think a mid-size sedan, has a lot bigger of a glove box in it. But that's just a little thing, nothing too big. Manual seats, cloth seats, but they are, just from the feeling of the fabric, very, very durable, and I can tell they're gonna hold up over time. It's very, just again, very usable, easy to get in. Even, you know, the ground clearance is pretty high on this vehicle. They do have running boards, and they have a nice grab handle, which makes it easier to get in and out of the vehicle, which I think is important, especially if you're a shorter person. I can imagine that being, you know, an issue. So I'm gonna go ahead and start it up. Actually, I wish the steering wheel wasn't in the way, but you can see there's a little screen there in between the two dials, the two main dials. In addition to your traditional fuel gauge and temperature gauge, there's also an engine oil temperature gauge right there, and a battery voltage gauge, which I don't know, you can quite see it, it's right there. It's hard to see, I'm sorry about that guys, but I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on. And I just love the way this truck sounds when it turns on. It makes a nice kind of burly sound when it turns on. It really sounds like a truck, and I really appreciate that. So I'm gonna straighten this out here so I can actually focus in on the gauges, if it will do that. But if I change here the odometer, I think it has 50,000. Let me zoom in so y'all can see that a little bit better. 50,640 miles. So pretty, I'd say that's pretty standard for a 2014 model. I think this would be considered, I think this was the first truck to roll out with that generation of Tundra. So that 2014 was the first year of that generation. Yeah, so looking again around the interior, you know, it's got a 6.1 inch touchscreen display, infotainment system. I think that's the same one that comes out of the Toyota Camry of that time period. It's very simple, easy to use, no nav, but that's really not a big deal at all. I mean, we have Apple Maps and Google Maps, Waze on your phone. You can hook up your phone and it'll even come through the speakers. So I really think that's not too much of an issue. Personally, we've never owned as a family a vehicle with nav built in. So as you can tell, that's not a deal breaker for us at all. Really not a big deal at all. It does have Bluetooth for your phone, hands-free, that whole thing. There's a little center display. Shows your average fuel economy, current fuel economy, distance to empty, you know, lapse time, just little things, average speed, not too much. Temperature outside, it's hot today, 91 degrees. Woo, but let me just say that this truck has really, really cold air conditioning, which is awesome. You know, just a nice, it got fast fan speeds, you know, everything's big dials, easy to use, especially when you're driving, no fuss, just very intuitive. You know, it's a truck. You know, what else do you really need? Something complex here? No, you don't. So these, and that's the other thing I wanted to point out about the air conditioning. Just a little thing, but it goes, all these little things I think make this truck really good that I'm pointing out. These vents, you normally see these in like vans and SUVs, like on the ceilings, like in the back seat, but they decided to put them on the dash. And some people might criticize the look of it. I mean, yeah, it's not the best looking vent out there, but it's so practical. You can point it any direction you want. You can turn it off on. I think it's really just a great design. Whoever came up with that better be rich, or at least they deserve to be rich. So let me point out some of the storage in here. Perfect. I love this. This is actually a 6-seat here that flips down into like a center console type thing, and they've made really good use of it. Storage here, some more storage in there, 2 cup holders, and this truck, these 2 front seats have a total of 6 cup holders, 2 there, 2 in the door right there, and then 2 more in the passenger door right there, with additional storage and integrated in the bottom of those doors. Here's the glove box. Like I was saying earlier, it's really not that impressive. There is a place for an owner's manual, but we actually don't have that. It did not come with the truck, so I'm gonna go ahead and shut that. It's damped, you know, it's things you would expect, lockable. So let's go ahead and check out what's underneath the hood here. So as you can tell right there, 5.7 liter V8 engine. I think this engine came out in 07, and they really haven't changed it since. They call it I-Force. It's made into a 6-speed automatic transmission, and it makes 381 horsepower and 401 foot-pounds of torque, if my memory serves me correctly. Just a really awesome engine. Really does great. It does wonders for this truck. Let me just tell you. Actually, I'm going to try and take this on a test drive and videotape it, because this engine is just wonderful. Mated with that 6-speed automatic transmission. It's buttery smooth, silky smooth on the highway. Acceleration is awesome. Even with this truck weighing 6,000 pounds, I mean, the acceleration is just unbeatable. Yeah, clean engine bay. Everything is accessible. So if you're like me and you're not a mechanic at all, but you like to work on your car when you can, this is a beautiful sight. I mean, yes, they do have a stupid beauty cover right there, but everything else is pretty accessible by today's terms. There's exposed wires and hoses, and that's kind of what you want to see. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this up, and we're going to go ahead and check out the back seat real fast here. So starting right off, back seat is up, which is great because it allows for more storage back here when you're not using it, which is probably 90% of the time. So you can put it up, and then by this handle, falls right down into place. Again, 3 people, seat belts for 3. I'm about 6 foot tall, and I'm sitting behind myself here, and I can say that seating is a little on the tight side. It could be a little bit better back here, but again, this is a truck. I think most of the people that are getting this, it's not going to be necessarily a people hauler. If you wanted that, you'd get a minivan or an SUV. But regardless, space isn't bad. My head is got about an inch or 2 left before I hit the ceiling. This seat is all the way back, so I'm 6 foot. I could probably move it up a little bit and be fine back here. I have ridden back here in a long road trip, and it was fine. Anybody over my height, you might be a little bit uncomfortable if there's someone that needs to have the seat all the way back, sitting in the front there. Cup holders in the rear, and you do have a 12-volt power outlet for your charging, and then you have 1 mat pocket on that seat, but not one over here, interestingly enough. The windows, they're power, and they roll all the way down, which I appreciate. Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and roll that up. And I think that just about wraps up this video. Thanks, guys.